So the little thing, such as he doesn't return my phone calls, doesn't text me, doesn't respond to me, I'm not saying he's being a good person, because I don't think he is. I think he has a lot of learning to do on how to be a spouse, how to be a husband. He's a lot of learning to do. But what it triggered is in you. He's triggering unnecessarily. He could fix it very easily. But that which is triggering inside of you. So what happens is these small triggers trigger immense, deep things that we then blame on the trigger. The trigger triggers something deep within, but the trigger is not the same thing as the thing within. I said, so here's what the mistake that many people make. Instead of looking at themselves and saying, something this other person doing is triggering awful things in me, I need them to stop triggering me. As opposed to coming and saying, you make me feel like I don't exist. You make me feel that I'm unloved. I said, the first one, you can find a solution. The second one, a person actually feels overwhelmed and helpless and eventually angry and resentful and depressed. That's the problem. When you say, my utter feeling of non-existence and unlovability, you lay that on somebody else, they barely ever know what to do. If you say to them, I showed up with this stuff, you could help me out by doing 2 or 3 things. I'm not blaming you for what I'm bringing into it. I am asking you to treat me a little bit better, and please don't trigger me. That leads to a whole other conversation. So what I'm finding out over and over again is, I say to couples, instead of talking about that deeper thing, work on that deeper thing on your own. Talk about the trigger. By the way, and as in many couples, there were deep things back and forth and triggering back and forth. Now here's what happens. When couples love each other, when families love each other, parents and children, children with parents, enough to say, I didn't cause that within you, but I'm definitely not making it any better. And I'm going to try to live in such a way that I don't trigger some of that awful stuff that you're carrying around. I really want to make your life as good as I can. That agreement to care for each other in that way opens up the deeper conversations. So what people want to say is, I'll have this deeper conversation when I'm really angry at you, which doesn't go well. When people say, we just got to take care of each other a little bit better, more mindful, more conscious, more kind, more proactive. You get to a point where people feel held, that they can be vulnerable, that they feel affirmed by the other, and then you can have that deeper conversation. So people say to me, you mean we can never talk about our feelings? I say, not yet. Right now, just talk about how to be nice to each other, how to be kind to each other, how to be mindful of each other. And there's going to be a day when you will be able to say to your spouse, I just want you to know, sometimes I have devastating feelings that I don't exist and I'm not lovable. And it's not your fault. I just want you to know because I love you and I think you love me. The other person can respond to that and say, first, I love you, I'll do anything I can, and talk about that. And the person can say, can you tell me some of your stuff that you're carrying around? And when couples have gotten there, something really beautiful can happen. So bringing this back to here, when Moses says the people are feeling devastated, they feel that God has abandoned them. They're evincing signs of addiction. We don't have enough to eat. We need a substance to feel better. And God says it's a spiritual solution. I'm going to take the spiritual gifts of Moshe, spread them out amongst the 70 elders, and the 70 elders are going to emanate the spirit of the divine through all of these people. And suddenly the cravings will go away because they have found something that I think is within every human being. And this chamber in the soul of every human being is very difficult to find. In fact, it's something I mentioned yesterday over at Shai's Rehab Center, is that most of what we need is hidden down in the soul, but it's very, very hard to find it.
Shalom, sim, shalom, sim, shalom, tova,